Have you fallen down the cottage industry rabbit hole yet? Well, if not, buckle up, Alice, and click on over to the description in the show notes and sign up. Then you can get ready for the most fun induction into the cult of all things yarn and fiber. This will include, but not limited to, free yarn, free ebooks, patterns, coupons, and much more. You don't want to miss out.
You are listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts, a podcast featuring two crafty besties who love true crime and a good cup of joe. It's fine.
Hey, amateur sleuths. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Heidi.
Welcome back.
Another episode, another day.
I've been jonesing. I don't know about you, but it's been a couple weeks because
it's been a while because we recorded like in excess because I had shit going on.
Yeah, and I always have stuff going on. But
can I show you what I got though?
Oh, I love it.
I got a witch hat from a fellow crocheter, and she actually told me what the pattern was, so I went and found it and bought it.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. So exciting. In different colors.
Yes, exactly. Because gotta have a purple witch hat. It's necessary, even though I think that's my 6th witch hat that I own.
Heidi is all set for Halloween, guys. And just any time of day.
Exactly. Any day of the year is fine.
It's spooky season all year long.
Always. Kristen sent a cup with her mom to this fiber event that I was at that is Michael Myers, and it says Halloween is every day, or every day is Halloween.
Every day is Halloween is every day.
I don't know.
Every day is Halloween.
I think it's every day is Halloween, man. But it's really cool.
I drink my water and
I drink iced coffee.
All the things in it. Yeah.
Unless I need it to stay cold for a long time.
I figured we needed a cup that was not a mug for,
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we need to hydrate instead of like dehydrating on more coffee.
Although I'm making a fresh pot.
Drink your water, people.
I do have water.
Okay. For anybody who's not watching, Kristen has a really cool headband on.
Yeah, because this week we celebrated Dia de los Muertos.
Yes.
Which is it's actually the 31st to the 2nd.
Yes.
Is typically when that is celebrated. The loss of loved ones are celebrated for that time for usually Hispanics.
Yes.
Yeah. And because we are from where we are. Always been a big thing. It's always been a big thing for us. We don't just have Halloween, guys. We celebrate it all. Celebrate all the spooky.
We've got all the cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is depending on how you want to say it, depending on what calendar you're looking at, it is American Indian Heritage Month.
Yes, November.
Or Native American Heritage Month, depending on who you talk to.
Right.
But in true Heidi fashion, we're going to talk about something on that note. It's going to be a little rough, but it's a subject that people should know about, but they don't. But before we get there,
Don't we have some
Also,
things to talk about, ma'am?
like what? Coffee?
Like coffee?
Like coffee from an indigenous owned brand?
Yay!
This week we have Spirit Mountain Roasting Company, Spirit Blend, and you can find them at spiritmountainroasting.com. And this stuff is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. So this is the Spirit Blend.
I wish I could smell it.
Oh, it's like heaven on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to give them a shout out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And when I got my package, I got stickers from them as well.
Ooh.
They had stickers and I was like,
yeah, well, we're a sucker for a good sticker.
Yeah, always. After my last show, I was so jazzed up about wool.
Yes.
That I finally bit the bullet and bought a knitting machine that I've been kind of like pining over a little bit.
Yes, and you've been obsessively working with it.
Dude, I can make a hat in 20 fucking minutes now instead of like an all-day event. Because knitting is not my strong point.
Right.
Okay? It takes me a long time. Needles are small. My hands are big. It's a lot to grip. And you understand this.
I do.
Y'all, this is just this morning.
Amazing.
But like, look at this one. I love this yarn. So this yarn actually is from Ireland. And it's a true Donegal tweed.
Oh, I love that.
From the islands.
That's amazing.
That's a hand dye yarn from my friend Jessie.
Awesome.
Hi, Jessie. I don't know if she listens. I'm not sure if she's a true crime person or not. And this is just acrylic from like my favorite North Carolina mill, actually.
Oh, is it?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Representing North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. They're like my favorite mill ever.
Nice.
That's where I get a lot of my wool blank yarn and wool to spin as well, actually.
Can I just say your hair is growing very fast?
I have a ponytail.
You have so much back there. I know.
It's legit.
I see it.
It's not
it's
like
awesome.
There's like a teeny bit that fell out. Okay. So, yeah. If you can't find me, I'm at the knitting machine. Okay.
That was like with my doodle this week.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys. Can I share that on the Instagram? Like,
yeah, you can share it.
Seriously, Kristen was like,
I got obsessed. It was weird.
It's a micro pen situation.
Yeah, the Micron.
Yeah, Micron pens.
Micron, yeah. They're my favorite for like stippling and cross hatching. And now fancy
apparently and she sent me a picture of it before she colored it in. I was like, are you creating a coloring book? Because that would be really cool.
And then I said, you know what, I should.
But she did not. She colored it in.
I colored it in myself. I'll be right. You just stay right there.
I'll be right here talking about coffee and stuff. What's everybody up to? How many cups did you have today? Because I was not. Number 3 now.
I was not prepared. Clearly.
Well, you know,
I'm sorry, folks.
It's not your episode. It's mine. It's fine.
I know.
It's supposed to be.
I know.
But I want to see this.
Are you ready?
I want everybody to see this. It's wild, y'all.
Have it the right way? Yeah.
Ooh. Seriously, like all those teeny tiny little lines. OMG. It's like an adult coloring book, literally. Like,
yeah, it started out with I did a squiggle on the back, and then I dotted the intersections, and then I did these weird lines, and then I filled in holes with other patterns, and it just created something.
It's cool.
Really cool. I was really proud of it, but I did definitely get a little obsessed. I was up late at night and I have a lot of drawings in here that I'm supposed to share yet. I
So,
gotta
like,
put it away. I gotta put it away.
last night, I was like getting dizzy because I was still on the knitting machine. I was like, I have to stop now. And I had to like force myself
you,
to
Mama.
stop.
I had
Mom delivered coffee.
Mom delivered coffee in my
Cute.
fancy mug.
I like it. Yeah. Hello.
Mama, did you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, the boyfriend. He does good things. He got me this
Sweet, dude.
from Williams Sonoma.
I love Williams Sonoma. It's dangerous.
I feel fancy.
It's a very dangerous store. Okay.
All right.
Now that we got all the fun stuff out,
yeah.
let me wreck your lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Trigger warnings. Well, first, let me tell you what we're talking about. We are going to talk about the Osage Murders.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So we're going to be talking about greed, racism, murder, and corruption, unfortunately. It was another time. There was a lot more corruption. I mean, there's still corruption everywhere now, but it was pretty rampant back then. So we're going to get a little bit of a history lesson today.
Oh, good. I like history.
I hope you're all prepared because I'm pretty sure this was not in our history books. Not that I remember.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not something that we learned about in school.
Yeah, we should have, but
well, yeah, but
okay. So we're gonna take it way back to 1897.
Holy crap-a-moly!
Because we have to get a little bit of background.
Oh, sure.
To the Osage Indian Reservation in what is now known as Osage County, Oklahoma. Back then, there was oil found on that land, which would eventually lead to some seriously fucked up shit in the years to follow. Now, of course, the United States Department of the Interior was in charge of leases on land for oil exploration or production by way of the BIA, which is the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They also paid out royalties to the individuals who owned the land.
Okay.
In 1907, Oklahoma was in the process of becoming a state. And during this process, the federal government, who stole the land from the indigenous people in the first place, allotted as everyone
did, yeah.
It's fucked up. They allotted parcels of land to each Osage person on the tribal rolls. Each parcel was 657 acres. And by law, the heirs to each of these families, whether Osage or not, held the rights to royalties from oil production on their land.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So these head rights, as they're called, would be passed down through the generations via inheritance. And the tribe held the mineral rights, which would then be divided up by the tribe members. And just a heads up, if I seem a little extra snarky during this episode, there's a reason for that. And if that reason isn't obvious to anyone, maybe you're in the wrong place. Our country's history is not what most people see it to be or what we learned it to be.
Right. It was written by folks that wanted to
make themselves look better, basically.
Yeah.
And if it was done to the indigenous people throughout the history of this country and is actually currently still happening to the indigenous people, if that doesn't piss you off, listen closely. I'm not even going to tell you to leave. I want you to listen, do more research, and then reevaluate how you feel, because it should make you angry. So fast forward to the 1920s. The oil market was booming by that point. The Osage people were insanely wealthy at that time.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine? They were millionaires in the fucking 20s.
Yeah. That was huge.
Like,
well,
what?
Big business where they
Yeah.
were. So
In 1923 alone, the Osage people made more than $30 million. And in today's money, that's well over 400 million.
yeah,
Holy shit.
insane. It's good that they were able to,
But it
take
makes
that, but
them a target
right,
for unsavory things.
of course.
Some of the Osage people used their wealth in great ways. They sent their kids to fancy private schools, which, like, I have mixed feelings about that because they did lose a lot of their own tradition, which is
Right.
not their fault by any means.
No,
That's
it just
the
they
settlers' fault. Bringing it
yeah.
here. They drove nice cars. They wore gorgeous, fancy clothes and jewelry. They traveled the world. You know, they were experiencing a different kind of lifestyle. And they were called, quote, the richest nation, clan, or social group of any race on earth, including the whites, man for man, end quote.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, this was extremely publicized. Like, newspapers everywhere were like, we can't believe it. You know, it's fucking ridiculous. So, of course, this created tons of chaos. More white people moved there, some just to make some money, like in the legitimate way, getting a job because there was actually jobs to be had.
Right. Yeah.
Others, not so much. They wanted that money, even if they had to kill to get it.
Mm.
To top it all off, the white men of the US government thought indigenous people were dumb and incompetent and that they couldn't possibly manage their own wealth.
So they became trusts over them?
Oh, it's worse.
Worse than that. Oh
So
my.
a new law was passed in 1921 requiring court-appointed guardians for each Osage of half-blood or more. This guardian would manage their royalties and finances until the Osage could prove, quote, competency.
That sounds like a lot of embezzlement opportunity.
Right? Yes.
That does not sound okay at all.
Who the fuck is going to tell you when you're competent? Another white dude who wants your money. You know,
right.
Like, none of this fucking makes sense.
No.
Except they just wanted that money.
Well, yeah, greed. My grandfather always said, follow the money. And
always follow the fucking money. That's why, like, if you don't have a will, if anybody doesn't have a will,
money involved.
Family, I don't care what your family is like. When somebody dies,
sorry, excuse me.
Mute button, friend. Mute button.
I know.
Sorry, guys. Family gets crazy over the money after somebody dies. It happens always. So, like,
well,
make sure you have a will.
As you know, I grew up in a probate litigation family.
Yeah.
So we grew up knowing my parents, if they have anything left, it's split 3 ways.
Right.
We don't argue, fight.
It has to be.
It is what it is.
Written.
And we just have that understanding. We're not there to be, we've never been a greedy folk. Like, money doesn't run us, but it does for a lot of people. I have, as being in law enforcement, I have had a will since being in law enforcement, especially with, you know.
You have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Got to make sure they're taken care of.
It's important. There's a lot of free programs out there.
I have a will. I don't even have kids, but I have stuff that I care about.
You have a lot of assets.
So, you know, it's, you know, like, I told Ben the other day, you know, we bought the house finally. I don't know if I told anybody on the podcast, but we own the freaking house now. And I told Ben, we don't have children. I don't want this house to just go to anyone.
Right.
When we die, I want this to be donated back to the fucking tribe that owned this land in the first place.
Yeah.
If I can do that, I want to do that. And he agreed. I was like,
yay, Ben. Good
hallelujah.
job.
Because, this land was somebody's land.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Okay. Where was I? Okay. So, now this guardian would manage their royalties and finances up until they could prove competency. If the Osage person was a minor at the time, even if they were less than half blood, and even if they had living parents who also had a guardian,
oh my
they
geez,
still had to be appointed a guardian. And these guardians, a lot of times, were in it just to steal the land, like we've been saying.
Right.
They wanted to steal those head rights. They wanted to steal those royalties away from the people they were supposed to be helping.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said before, even if it meant murdering them. In 1924, the Department of the Interior charged 24 of these guardians with corruption in the administration of their duties.
Well, duh.
And I can say at least they were charged, but that's not enough.
You need to change the law and get rid of these guardians.
Well, and here's
clearly a problem.
Here's the big problem is that all of them avoided any punishment because they settled out of court. Not with the Osage people.
Yeah.
Oh! Anyway.
Yeah.
Now, these asshats were believed to have stolen millions from the Osage people. In 1929, it was reported that $27 million was still being held by the guardian system that was supposed to help the 883 Osage families. Like, this is fucking ridiculous.
That is nuts.
And I actually wrote in here, greed is a real bitch.
It really is. And I grew up, you don't want for anything. Like, no, don't go into this world just trying to get all the money and
all of the
hurt
things.
people and my kids, I'm trying to get them to do a darn Christmas list. I've been trying to get them to do it for 2 weeks so I can send it to my dad. And you know what I get? We don't know what we want.
We'll figure it out, kiddos.
Like, okay.
At least just say what you're into. Do you like we know they like Hello Kitty and narwhals and stuff. We know what they like, so at least there's that.
I'm glad that they don't want for anything and they don't care about name brand stuff and they don't care about what's popular or whatever. They just want to have fun outside and inside,
maybe just
art and stuff, but
ask for outside toys and art stuff.
I think that's what I'm gonna finally finalize it today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've covered the gist of what was happening during this time,
sound like a lot of awful,
it's bad.
Embezzling and stealing and thievery and now murder.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the murders. Now, these murders were coined as the, quote, reign of terror by some newspapers in Colorado. A lot of the murders seemingly happened in one single family. Strange, huh?
Interesting.
But not when you see the reality of that situation. Back to 1921. Just going backwards a little bit. On May 27th, some local hunters were out hunting when they came across a dead body in a ravine in a remote part of Osage County that was already decomposing. Ew. They were probably like, oh, there's a dead animal, I can smell it. And then they came up and actually it was a human being.
Right. It's probably like, it's like that fox that we walked past last year.
Yes. Where you can smell it coming and you know it's there. Yes. Mm-hmm. Except that human decomposing
is a lot worse.
It's different.
Yeah.
This was the body of Anna Brown. Now, Anna was just 36 years old Sadly, the authorities couldn't find her killer. So they just wrote her death off as an accidental alcohol poisoning death and never looked any further. Okay.
WTF, man.
You're about to be WTF in 2.5 seconds because she had a fucking gunshot in the back of her damn head. You cannot tell me that that's an accidental alcohol poisoning.
That's not alcohol poisoning.
No.
Nor is it accidental.
It's so fucked. Anna Brown was divorced, so her real estate, thankfully she was divorced, right? Her real estate went to her mother, Lizzie Kyle, which is, it's good, except that now she's more of a target.
Right.
Now, at some point, a guy named Kelsey Morrison admitted to murdering Anna Brown, like way later, which is good.
Okay.
Now, he stated that a local cattle farmer had asked him to kill her, but he didn't act alone. According to Kelsey Morrison, he had the help of the cattle farmer's nephew, Brian Burkhart, who, by the way, just happened to be Anna's ex-boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
This is a very sticky mess up in here. Kelsey Morrison gave testimony that he and Brian Burkhart met Anna at her sister's home. And Anna was, according to his testimony, heavily intoxicated. The two men took her to 3 Mile Creek, which is where Kelsey Morrison shot her to death, and they just left her in a ravine.
Wow.
Yeah, accidental alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Not.
Yeah. The very same day that Anna's body was found, her cousin Charles Whitehorn's body was also found near Pahuska, which is a town there in the county.
Mm-hmm.
He had also been shot to death. Now, that's actually on the reservation for sure.
Yeah.
Lizzie Kyle, Anna's mom, had head rights to Anna's property now on top of her own head rights. Plus, she had head rights to another daughter's property and to her late husband's property.
Oh, my.
She lost so many people, and because of everything she owned, she became, as I said, a target.
A target, yeah.
And just 2 months after Anna's death, Lizzie was also killed.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real fucked up.
I would have been like, give me this money, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Or I'm leaving without the money. I don't care.
It's real fucked up.
Get me out of this town.
Yeah. So now we're going to fast forward to 1923. Anna Brown's cousin, Henry Rowan Horse, was found shot dead in his car on the Osage Res on February 6th. Now, apparently Henry had borrowed $1,200 from the same cattleman that had Anna killed.
Mm.
And come to find out, that same cattleman named William Hale had somehow illegally made himself the beneficiary of Henry's $25,000 life insurance policy. Now, back then, it was a lot easier to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Don't do that shit, people. Just don't.
Stop manipulating people to get what you want. Get it yourself.
You will get caught. Just saying. Now, barely a month later, on March 10th, there was a huge explosion at Anna's other sister, Rita's house. It's fucking crazy. Rita Smith and her servant, Nettie Brookshire, were both killed in the explosion. Rita's husband, Bill, thankfully survived for another 4 days, which was just long enough to implicate possible suspects and to appoint his wife's estate before he died.
Mm.
So, Now, it was later discovered that the explosion was caused by a bomb using 5 gallons of nitroglycerin.
Oof.
Can you imagine?
That is, wow.
That's a hell of a boom.
That's a lot.
Yeah. A few months later, on June 28th, Burkhart and his uncle Hale sent George Bighart to a hospital in Oklahoma City on the train. The doctors that checked George out suspected he was poisoned via his whiskey. George Bighart tried his best to get the people behind the murders arrested. He even contacted an attorney who came to see him at the hospital. And this attorney was W.W. Vaughn of Pawhuska. That same night, he actually, he went to the hospital that same night because it seemed like it was extremely urgent. So he hopped on the train like immediately.
Right. And he took off.
Yeah. During that meeting, George told him he had access to incriminating documents that would prove who was behind the murders.
Ooh.
However,
target.
After the meeting, W.W. Vaughn boarded the train to go back home, but he was never seen alive again. The next morning, when the Pullman porter, which is the guy that says all aboard and wakes you up from your birth, whatever. He went to wake him up at his stop, but his berth hadn't even been used.
Oh.
He wasn't there. His body was found later on about 5 miles south of Pawhuska beside the railroad tracks, and his skull was crushed. Very sadly, George Bighart died that same morning.
So all the people who could
exactly, they were fucking
information
covering their tracks. And if you think that was a lot of murders, there were another 13 full-blooded Osage men and women murdered between 1921 and 1923 alone.
Holy crap!
In 1925, there were now at least 60 Osage people who had been murdered.
Jeez Louise, this is a huge cover-up. And
yes. And you want to know who their property was deeded to upon their deaths?
The Burkhart Hale people?
Their guardians.
Oh.
Local white people that had been hired basically to steal their fucking money in their land.
Right.
Now, this was actually the beginning of the FBI before it was even called the FBI, which is pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
So in 1925, the Osage elders and James Monroe Pyle, who was quite possibly the only non-corrupt local Leo in the area during that time, contacted the Bureau of Investigation, which was the prequel to the FBI.
Right.
For assistance in figuring out who was murdering all of these Osage people. Now, after the BOI reviewed the evidence sent to them, they sent a lead investigator named Tom White. And due to the corruption in local law enforcement that they knew for sure was happening, and the fact that they definitely needed help, Tom decided to bring in some outside help to work undercover.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they recruited quite the team. They had a former New Mexico sheriff, a former Texas Ranger, don't fuck with those guys, a man named John Berger. Any relation there?
Is it UR or ER?
ER. No, UR, ER. UR, ER. So, yeah.
Same.
A man named Frank Smith. That's all I know about Frank Smith. And John Wren, who was a badass American Indian man from the Ute Nation.
Oh.
Now, John Wren had previously been a spy for the Mexican revolutionaries.
Nice.
And I would hire this team.
Sounds like a pretty good,
yeah,
pretty good team.
And they did the damn thing. They all went undercover as random jobs.
Work hands, or
not even work hands, but local people, and they got in close with the community and stuff. So
infiltrated the town.
Yes, exactly. Now, the obvious person suspected to be responsible for a lot of the murders was none other than that cattle farmer, Hale.
Mm-hmm.
The Commissioner of Indian Affairs from the Department of the Interior sent in the undercover agents to see what they could find. And these agents worked diligently for 2 years.
Wow.
Yes, and it paid off. They discovered that Hale, who was known as, quote, the king of the Osage Hills.
Oh my, that's quite a title given to himself.
Oh, yes.
By himself, I'm sure.
Right? Probably. He was running a crime ring.
Oh, no shit.
Shocking. Yeah, I
think
know.
you foreshadowed this.
Very surprising.
Yes, I'm so shocked.
So both of his nephews, Ernest and Brian Burkhart,
Mm-hmm.
had traveled with him to Osage County from Texas to get jobs in the oil industry that was obviously booming.
Right.
But when they got there, their plans changed pretty quickly because they saw how much money the Osage were making from the head rights to the land.
Mm-hmm.
And it became Hale's goal in life to obtain head rights to as many of those properties as he could, including his own nephew's wife. Because Hale had talked his nephew, Ernest, into marrying Molly Kyle, another sister to Anna.
Oh.
And she was full-blooded Osage.
Mm-hmm.
He then proceeded to arrange the murders of Molly's entire family, which we already talked about.
Right.
Including her cousin Henry Roanhorse.
Mm.
So he could get that life insurance money and then the head rights from her entire family. That would be a lot of fucking money. Now, during the investigation into this huge conspiracy, this is a huge conspiracy.
It is.
Even more people were murdered, including some of the participants in the murder plot. Of course.
Oh, yeah?
You got to cover your ass.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, Molly and Ernest inherited all of those head rights from her entire family.
Wow.
Yeah, and investigators actually found out that Molly was being poisoned already.
Oh, like slowly.
A slow,
like arsenic or something? Or
we're not sure. Now, Hale was not wasting any time, obviously. Thankfully, the investigators at this point had enough evidence and they moved forward with the arrests.
Good.
So Hale, Brian, Ernest, and one of the ranch hands were all charged with the murders of Molly Kyle's entire family. Hale was specifically charged with the murder of Henry Roanhorse, since he had for sure been killed on the Osage reservation land.
Mm-hmm.
It was a federal crime back then.
Right.
It's different now.
Yeah, tribal laws and the treaties are just...
It's real fucked up.
Mind-boggling.
And it thankfully is changing-ish. It's trying to change-ish now, but it really needs to fucking change. People need to start working together instead of against each other.
That's what I have been saying.
It's real bad.
I mean,
now, here's the thing. If a white man who's not a member of the tribe goes on the reservation, does something to somebody on the reservation, they cannot legally be charged with anything. They could murder somebody and get away with it. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with our MMIW episode,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just get away with shit. Okay. All of the accomplices who were living when everything was found out were convicted in federal and state trials between 1926 and 1929. Some of them confessed and then recanted and blamed others.
Mm-hmm.
Brian turned state's evidence. Ernest actually did end up turning state's evidence as well. Let's see. One of their associates, John Ramsey, initially admitted that he shot Henry Roanhorse after Hale promised him $500 and a car.
Really?
Yeah. But he changed his story and blamed some guy named Curly Johnson.
Oh. Okay.
That's a really bad name.
Curly, you got a terrible life ahead of you.
I hope you don't have a Curly Johnson. That would be real awkward. Maybe he's a pig. Saying. Yeah. I think I broke Kristen. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Now here's the real kicker that pissed me off. And it obviously pissed off the Osage people, because how could it not? All of these assholes were sentenced to life imprisonment and then fucking paroled.
What?
Yeah. Let's just have a moment of what the fuck. And I'm not done yet.
No, I know. You got more in there.
It's just bad. The people of Pawhuska petitioned to have a full-on investigation done looking into the deaths of Charles Bigheart and his attorney. And the Oklahoma governor, Jack Walton, assigned a guy named Herman Davis to the case. But not long after this, Herman Davis was actually convicted of bribery.
Oh,
shocker.
Well,
it's literally like every fucking person is just like corrupt in this story, pretty much.
Wasn't Walton, didn't that family start Walmart?
I don't fucking know. But
John Walton.
I'm like, fuck Walmart. Yeah. Anyway.
We
don't
got
get
Heidi
me started.
We got Heidi going.
Oh, okay. And of course, Governor Walton pardoned his best friend, Herman Davis.
Well, yeah, it's my bestie. He's got to get pardoned.
Oh my God. I cannot lock him up.
up.
He's just so sad in there.
What am I going to do at night?
Yeah. Who am I going to talk to? And then nobody ever completed an investigation into the deaths of Charles Bigheart and his attorney, W.W. Vaughn.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Now, Ernest, as I said before, turned state's evidence eventually once he realized his connections couldn't protect him anymore. And he named his uncle as the lead conspirator, of course, which we already duh.
Yeah.
He named people who he hired to perform the killings for him. A man named Henry Grammer was his middleman, who hired a guy who went by Ace Kirby. Both of them were killed before they could ever even testify, though.
Oh.
So
they killed their killers.
Yeah. Now, the only good thing, exactly. The only good thing here is that Ernest failed to kill his wife, Molly.
Oh.
Molly had actually, at this point, which, like, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole of colonialism, but side note, she did become Catholic. She was devout Catholic at this point.
Mm-hmm.
She had actually told a priest at her church that she thought she was being poisoned.
Oh.
And this priest
he did good by her.
He might have been one of the only good ones. Don't tell anyone I said that out loud. Tell everyone. I don't care. Okay. Her priest thankfully told her not to touch any alcohol at all. She recovered.
Yeah.
Her priest also contacted the agents from the FBI who were working the case, or the BOI.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so after Ernest was put in prison, Molly divorced him, and she actually lived. She lived until June 16th, 1937. She died of completely unrelated causes, and her children inherited her entire estate. Yes. which was massive by that point. I mean,
which were her kids his kids?
Probably.
But or did she have a family after she divorced him?
She did remarry. I don't know if her and Ernest had any kids together, but I'm pretty sure like maybe most of them were probably her second husband.
it's probably good.
Yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't want that killer DNA in there.
No.
So while the men convicted in this case weren't responsible for all of the murders during those years, they were responsible for quite a few of them. The BOI actually believed that a lot of the female Osage who were murdered during this time period were actually murdered by their own husbands, or the murderers were hired by their husbands, because most of their husbands were not Osage.
Oh.
It was all about head rights.
Right.
Yes. That said, most of the murders did actually go unsolved.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you remember the only non-corrupt local Leo in town, Kyle?
Yes.
Well, the totally corrupt Osage County officials were obviously very pissed off at him.
Right.
And they actually wanted revenge for ruining their big plan. And because he was fearing for his life, for good reason, him and his wife actually, they fled to Arizona, and he actually continued to work in law enforcement.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and he died in 1942, so he lived a bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's one case in particular I'm not going to talk about here because I haven't read the book yet, and I really want to, but I want everybody to go read the book if you can find it. I didn't even see if I could find it, so if you can find it, yeah. It's called Bloodland, A Family Story of Oil, Greed, and Murder on the Osage Reservation by Dennis McAuliffe, and it's McAulifffe. And yes, this book was written about his own family and through his own research. So he got curious about one of his grandparents or great grandparents, and so he started researching it and wrote this book. And did you find it?
I found it.
Can you send me a link?
I don't know if you want to buy it.
Is it $500,000?
No, but it's 89.
That's not as bad as I thought it might be.
Ugh, that makes me go.
Just send me the link anyway.
I will. I'm sending it right now.
But
you might be able to find it in
I could probably find it
or something.
There's another super popular book right now that everyone should go read if they haven't, before the movie comes out next year. Yes, I said movie. Killers of the Flower Moon, The Osage Murders and the Birth of the FBI by David Gran. That book you can get on Amazon. It is very affordable. It's like less than $10, I think. I do have it. I haven't read it yet, but
sounds
I have
interesting.
Okay, so moving forward from that point, Congress passed a law in 1925 to help curb any more murders from possibly happening.
Did they take away the guardians?
No, quite. This law actually prohibits any non-Osage from inheriting the head rights from Osage who are half or more Native American ancestry. So
I guess that does help.
Okay, so I actually do have a little bit of a story about that.
Yeah.
Because on that note, I had a long conversation with my mom actually last night about this. And because I'm doing this research and I'm like, fuck, my mom has mineral rights from grandpa.
Right.
Now, we don't know if they're from Oklahoma. We are Choctaw. Choctaw Nation is in Haskell County, Oklahoma, which is where this is from.
Right.
She always just thought that it was from a farm that they owned together, but I think that it might actually be more than that. So I'm actually going to be looking into that a little bit more. And it would make sense why her and her sister inherited it instead of his wife.
Right, because she was not.
She would have been the heir, but she's not because she's not of ancestry.
She has no ancestry. Yeah.
So, yeah, I found that was kind of a neat little thing. It just like popped in my head all of a sudden. So, to finish up, in 2011, the U.S. government actually settled with the Osage tribe after years of lawsuits. And the settlement was the largest trust settlement with one tribe in U.S. history at $380 million.
Wow.
And that's literally all I know. You can't take back murder.
No.
Yeah. But I do have some sources here, and I'm going to try my best to remember to actually put these links in the description of the fucking episode because they're really neat. And if anybody wants to go like really deep dive,
yeah,
the FBI files are public record.
Right.
And there are a shit ton of them. I was like going blind and getting dizzy reading it all.
Yeah.
So Wikipedia actually does have a lot of information with a ton of sources in it, which is great. FBI.gov/history/famous cases. I'll link it in the show notes. And then vault.fbi.gov. So there's extra links that go into the vaults. So it's pretty cool.
Yes.
So yeah, that's the real history. Just a little bit of it.
Heidi bringing it to you hard and fast.
That's just one. That's just one tribe.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of corruption, a lot of
stuff. A lot of fuckery.
Just, my hope is that one day people won't be
such assholes,
such shitbags.
Yeah. Such racist pieces of crap. That's my hope.
Yeah. Just be a good human, guys.
Yeah. Like truly good humans.
Like real.
Don't just think that you are a good human because you did one good thing, but like actually live
it your whole life. I tell my
existence.
kids, so one of the things I tell them, I say, go to school today and do or say one kind thing or do a kind thing to one human being.
Yeah.
A different human being every day. You need to go and tell me about it.
Yeah.
I want you to do outside of yourself.
Like, and you know what? You're doing a really good job.
Thanks.
You guys, seriously. Her parentals drove with her oldest daughter to come see me 5.5 hours just to bring me like art pieces and say hi and like hang out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And Haley hugged me twice. It broke me. Oh no, it's breaking, Mom. Don't cry. You're doing a great job. You're going to make me cry.
She's doing so well. And I'm just... Anyways.
Anybody who doesn't know, do you want to tell them a little bit about Haley?
I can. Haley is autistic. She is on the spectrum, and our whole life of 14 years together has just had ups and downs. A year ago was really hard for us, and today she's
thriving.
She's doing
right
so
now.
Well. She learned how to drive the tractor mower the other day. And it just made my heart happy because she was doing something new.
Yes.
That she had said that she'd never do.
And doing something new, as I'm sure a lot of people know, is really not an easy task if you are autistic.
Correct.
And hugging is not an easy task if you are autistic.
Yeah, I always say...
I don't force it, but if you want to give me a hug, I didn't even say anything. She just came up and gave me a hug. And seriously.
Yeah,
Incredible.
I learned early on in my parenting that consent for even hugs is important.
Mhm.
As I got a fist to the face one time. You know,
because you don't even know until you have experienced it. Yeah.
Right. So I had a little breakdown here. Thank you,
It's
Heidi.
okay. It's the reality of
But
life.
I'm just so glad that she was able to have that experience and come and see you. And yeah, she's doing really great. We're doing really great.
You're all doing great. It's awesome.
Yeah. We've had some ups and downs, obviously, you can imagine.
It happens. I remember once when I was babysitting one of our old friends in San Diego. I was babysitting her son. He was probably 5. And this was like at the beginning of when they were really like trying to figure out autism and
I mean, I still try and figure it out every day.
He's a grown up now, but like back then, he was a 5-year-old. He fucking knocked the wind out of me. He punched me so hard in the stomach, and it was over something, you know.
They were overstimulated, probably of something.
Yeah.
It has to do with sensory processing.
Right.
And,
yeah. And you know, I didn't take that to heart, but it's like, yeah, it happens. Anyway, you're doing a really good job, and I just want you to know that. She's a good human. And the other 2 are really good humans too.
I love you.
Just saying, I love you too. Kristen posted a video
awesome.
of them driving the tractor.
Hannah's a pro at that thing.
Dude,
did you see her park it in the tiny shed?
She pulled it into the shed like a pro, and I was like, "Wait, what? How old is she?" Like, she parks better than most adults I know, which is really funny. So
she's 9, guys. That one's 9,
and she can probably parallel park better than anybody.
And when Harper can reach the pedals on her own,
he's on it.
She's gonna be excellent.
She's gonna be like, "Can I mow for you?" And you'll be like, "Sure."
I'm so looking forward to it because it's a big job out here.
Yeah.
Living on a farm is hard. 2.5 acres of mowing is hard.
Well, yeah, your 2.5 acres is straight up grass.
It's flat.
It's flat grass.
So it's like 4 hours.
6 acres is like barely grass, and it's about to be no grass because we're getting rid of it.
Oh.
Yeah, the whole backyard is going to be gravel. The whole front yard is going to be wood chips because we don't need grass here. You don't have to water it. It just grows. It just keeps growing. And it's beautiful. And it's soft. And everybody wants it except for me.
So, right.
Anyway, now that I made Kristen cry. Okay.
And I don't pretty cry, guys. It's ugly cry.
We all ugly cry.
All day long. So I'm just going to let you guys know, our listeners, I have the best friend. My best friend is better than any person.
Don't make me cry. Sorry for the cry fest, y'all.
Get yourself a friend who's like Heidi, because she's really great.
And if anybody needs a good friend, if you need to talk to somebody, like, I can listen.
Ditto.
Just like message us if you need to fucking rant about a goddamn thing or just get something off your chest, because we're good at that.
We're mental health helpers.
You need a helper.
If you need a helper, we got you.
Slide into our DMs, just not in a gross way, okay?
Yeah, no grossness.
No.
We're not into it.
No, we're not. Oh. We don't want to see any of that shit. Anyway.
If you guys have made it this far, we love you and we appreciate the support, and we just love continuing to bring you stories and We are appreciative of you guys listening to us tell stories to each other and hear about our weird lives.
Right? Oh my God. Okay, but before we actually sign off, I did want to kind of recommend a couple more Indigenous owned brands that I fucking love.
Oh, yes, please.
So,
you have that makeup one.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of different makeup brands that are Indigenous owned, and I love both of them. Cheekbone, really I love Cheekbone.
I know.
Look up Cheekbone Beauty. They're actually based in Canada. It's a First Nations owned company, also woman owned. So, like, check it out. The other one is called Prados, and that is actually in the US here. So, check them out as well. They have some really neat stuff, actually. Prados has really cool shadow palettes with like wild colors. And then I think like my favorite fashion designer, crap. Now my brain just went, hold please. do. It's in my stories because I'm a big dork. Okay. Whew. Lauren Goodday. Good grief. My brain went. Okay. Look up Lauren Goodday on Instagram.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Her. Wow.
Yeah.
Every time there's like a new collection that comes out, I lose my shit completely because I want everything. So anyway, check them out and support the Indigenous brands because.
Yes.
Just because they're badass. All right. On that note, we will talk to you next time. Ta-ta.
For now.
Thanks for listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts. If you love our podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. This helps us more than you know. If you really love us and want to support us, go to our website at www.crimecoffeeandcrafts.com. From there, you can join our Patreon, shop our merch, and find us on social media.